you can start something, but it doesn't necessarily happen that quick, right? So when I looked back, I saw all the little things that I was doing that would eventually have to lead me to acting, like getting out of trouble. I could lie, immediately make someone believe me. That's the truth. I go to school, my mates at school go, shit, how do you think that? I just want to get in trouble. So I was play acting all the time, and I was just doing it. And then when I first got my job 36 years ago, I went, oh, this is cool, and that's how it started. How he started was through John, because I used to go to casting director workshops, and always go to them because I always got booked, always got roles. That's why I went there. So Tom was doing the class, and he said, what are you doing here, Andy? Because I'd already been working for 12, 13 years. I said, it's got to meet, man. You've got to keep in people's heads. He goes, that's all right. Anyway, at the end of it, he was casting a new film, so 2 days later I got an audition and got that job. And then all I said to him, like, see, a lot of people are too scared to say things, right? It's this here, when you open that, plenty happens. A lot happens. I just said, Tom, my son's just started, he's only 8. He's just started acting, he's done a couple of little short films. I was coaching him and his sister. And I said, he's not bad, you know. I said, he's pretty natural. He said, yeah, show me a headshot. So then he had long hair down to here, curly hair. And I sent the photo, he goes, yeah. He says, bring him in. So we just ran the scene in the car on the way in. I mean, he worked on it, but we're running it on the way in. And the good thing was he hadn't been spoiled, you know, with a lot of different styles. It was just me and him talking, that's all it was. And when we got in there, Tom took him down to the room, and he came out probably 10, 15 minutes later. And he's walking down the hallway, and he wasn't shaking his head like that, he's just sort of like that. And I went, oh, maybe it didn't go too well, you know. And then he said, where the fuck? Oh, am I allowed to swear? Out the door. Come on, kids, out of here! And he just, where the fuck have you been hiding him? I said, he hasn't been hiding. He's been at home. He goes, shit. He goes, never seen anything like it. And that's how his career started. Because I asked, is there any roles for little kids, right? So, does that happen to everybody? No. But what happens is when you ask and put word out, something happens, right? It always happens. But if you don't ask, you're sitting there waiting at home for something to happen, all that will happen is you waiting at home waiting for something to happen. And that's not a bad thing, it doesn't mean it's bad. We just finished a 6-week course here at TAFTA. I always teach at TAFTA because I love it. People got breakthroughs there, you know, because they got to understand it's not all the fancy stuff you've got to learn, it's to learn about you first and what's inside of you and how to be natural when you're performing and not stress yourself out too much, you know. The skills will come, like you learn skills, you have to learn skills, but it's good atmosphere at TAFTA, isn't it? You know, it really is. And John's great. Me and John, we have the same sort of ideals, like there's nothing wrong with all the techniques around Stanislavski, Ivan Chubik, Howard Fine, all those, they're fine, you know, like, oh, that was funny, Howard Fine, they're all fine. And you'll learn off all of them, but the thing you've got to get is they didn't invent anything. I'm not putting them down because they didn't invent anything. They just had a little style and went, oh, that's Ivan Chubik style. Oh, that's Stanislavski. They're all valuable. They're all valuable lessons you can learn, but they didn't invent it.
They're all tools for you to find a way to come into tune with yourself, with the moment, with the psyche, but they simply came upon them in a way in which they could put them into vocabulary and section them off, and then you could kind of jump into that as a channel on a radio. But
which is cool.
Everyone has the ability, and I think that's the point, is that it shouldn't kind of...
Don't stick to one thing, like be interested in all of them, you know. Be interested in all of them because they're all valuable, 100% they're valuable, you know. But some actors tend to just stick with that and don't want to go anywhere else. Well, that's okay, but you're also missing out on something else that some other teacher from another style could show you, and you go, oh wow, that's cool. Because all it is, it's funneling wherever you learn. The funnel is narrow and it comes to you at the end. You're the only one coming out of the funnel. The teachers aren't coming with you. So you can go to 100 schools, but at the end of the day, it's you here on the floor with a cross, auditioning or getting a role. That's it. So learn, train, you know, where you're comfortable and you like it, but always experiment till you find a place that teaches a lot about you, right? More about you, where you get to discover yourself.
Whenever anyone is asked about my process or things like that, I try and veer away from the expression of it as a process. The process was that I had an incredible bond with my dad. He's on one side of the spectrum in terms of his personality. You know, he's very grounded, straight to the point, and I was on another side. I think very deeply, and so we worked well in that way. And through that continuity, I was able to break through those barriers of myself, and yeah, that's where it all is. It's learning how to control yourself and how to be in tune with the moment through yourself. So I guess it's not ever really one technique. It's all about you. And that can be like a very emotional process. It should be. Like, I've seen people break down before. I've seen everything on the spectrum, like, because that's what it should be. You're dealing with your psyche, you're dealing with yourself, emotions, archetypes, storytelling. Free yourself, if anything, of the expectation of a process or an outcome. And the way we do that is we assess the emotions that we're dealing with, the stress, and there'll be expectation there'll be director, there'll be this and that, pressure, it's thoughts and expectation, assumption.
As soon as you get in the script, that's when it starts.
Yeah.
And that's usually when you start building the brick wall.
Oh yeah, like when I receive
doing
a script, I'll be super excited about it, but almost every script that I'm in, there's some part in it where I know one day I'm going to have a big breaking down scene, I'm going to be set on fire, almost drowned, ride a horse, and I've done it all, and I'm happy to say that I did it to my best ability.
Yeah.
But it always, as you literally said, from the audition or whenever I receive that script, it starts from there where I go, okay, on that date, on that, you know, it's coming up, oh God, it's coming up. So it's just this play that I play in my head, that we play in our heads. So really the process for me would be get as far away from that drunken monkey in my head that swings from one thought to another.
Start laying the bricks, you start building them at that point. Then when you're standing in front of the brick wall, we go, who put that there? And you stand there with the trowel in your hand and the cement bucket.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
We all do. You're building it already, you know, so you just got to be careful. Like Kodi said, it's just fun. Like, you've seriously got to look.
Yeah, you have to have fun.
Yeah. My agent used to say, well, Tony, you've got to have fun. I used to get pissed off when people told me that. You know, it's just fun. It's all fun. It's not fucking fun. I've got to sit here and I said, yeah, it's good. I love it. But I've got to get all this down and I've got to try and do that. I said, and I need to be focused and get there and do my job. And I did. But then all of a sudden I went, I'd have fun on set, but I didn't make it fun getting there. I was excited, but I'd do that. I'd start building the brick wall and go, oh man, I'll do it. It would be better to go, actually give this script to that actor, he can play it. You go, no, it's mine. I want to have fun, give it back to me, right? You wouldn't do that. So don't make it a big deal. Make it exciting, like a present, like opening that present, and then what you're going to do with that present. If you keep it exciting and you take your time to learn, the first thing you got to do is read stuff. You can't just, like actors, experienced actors, and I'd say Kodi's probably at that point now, and I'm probably at that point where I could probably read something and not do anything I told you to do. Because if I have to put it down, which I do, tonight or tomorrow, before I leave, Thursday, I can just read it or put it up on a screen and I'll read it, because I've read it 5 or 6 times. I get it. If after 36 years and after the amount of time you can't read a script and get it pretty quickly and put an audition down, then there's probably something wrong. But I only say that honestly because at that level you can, but most time if we've got time, you'll put the work in. With auditions, you've only got 2 days or 3 days, so that's when your life, which I tell every class I'm in, and I'm sure other, John and other people do it, you can't keep doing your normal life when you want to be an actor. You've got to have a balance. You've got to have your family life, your partnership life, your work life, your social time, your downtime, but there's a time where you got to go, leave me alone, shut the door and go do your work. You have to, because it won't work otherwise. Yeah. Everyone's got the capability. I do not believe that anybody that ever comes to a class, because I've never acted before. We had 3 actors in our class here that never, ever set foot on a set or acted, and that was great to see because no one knew. They thought they'd been acting for ages. And why? Because they had nothing going on.
They were incredible.
Yeah.
Like,
They're just being themselves.
The instincts were just there, and they didn't have anything in the way, whether it was the expectation or even sometimes the other techniques, because this was their initiation into a technique. So they were just so raw and in the moment, and yeah, it was really cool to see. It's very cool.
We've got to respect the people who do the work for us, because we're just waiting for an audition to come in. We might get the full script, we may not. We read it, and then we've got to work out what he wrote. And that's what the casting director's looking for, because they've read it, they know all about it, and they're going to tell you everything. They're just going to give you a little bit, and they want to see what you do with it. So when they say they want to see what you do with it, they don't want to see what you do with it thinking of some other actor that you love and you're going to do it the way he did it. You can watch other movies and TV and steal little bits, but it's got to be you, because no one can do you. Nobody can do you. And a lot of times actors are coming into an audition and they will do the same thing, like very similar, but you've got to step out and do something you think, oh, I thought about this, and do something.
And that's 100% right, because when I was younger, we worked a lot more closer together.
Because I don't actually like him.
Yeah, as you can tell, there's bigger space now.
Was a little too close, actually.
But yeah, so we would be working on these auditions and stuff, and I would be doing the kind of thing where you're just going to, what I didn't know was going to be the normal approach that a bunch of other people were going to go in and basically do. And then Dad would come up with these little risky, stupid, quirky, but risky ideas, like, oh, you know what, at that point, just do that, just burst in the door or something, just do that, something that you would not think of, it's out of the box, and you even, I would constantly have second guesses going, oh God, that's kind of breaking the boundaries of what everyone else would be doing. Every single time I did something like that, I saw a bulb come over the director's head and the producer's head, because their eyes lit up because they saw something that they didn't know to expect, and that's what they're waiting for all day. They've seen people doing the same. So when someone had the balls to do something out of the box and, yeah, kind of question even what they were given and bring something new from that, that's what it's all about.
It doesn't mean do anything that's never going to bring you back in the room again.
Yeah.
Right? It just means something
just little
retaining
things,
with. Yeah.
From doing so many auditions of going, all right, do your thing, but okay, now let's do it this way.
Yeah.
Listen, if you're
sort of conform to, okay, let's just do it this way.
Yes. If you're going to run into barriers sometimes where, and that goes the same for films too. Like I'll go on a film and I'll ask the director from the get-go, hey, can I, like, how are you with the words? Can I be off page? Can I improvise? Oh, fuck, you're free with it. I want to see new things. I want to see you bringing everything to the table. This is just a guide. Other times, the script supervisor will be walking up to me after every single take.
You missed the full stop.
There's also, a punctuation there.
Yeah.
So you just have to adapt, and it'll work for auditions too. Sometimes if you do your little quirk thing, okay, we got that, now let's actually stick to the script.
Yeah.
You just have to have the humility to be able to do that.
The quirk thing doesn't mean changing the script.
No.
It just means it's a physical thing you might do. Like, where you're lucky with this, because Kodi can give you his experience example, is like Wolf Creek, the original Wolf Creek, not the series, the original Wolf Creek, which I was in, and the director and we have the pleasure of having directors and producers tell you why you got cast. Yeah. So then I can pass that on, he can pass it on, because people go, oh really, that's why. It's helpful to know why you didn't or did get cast. Yeah. So he just said, the acting was fine, so like I said, but the thing that really pushed me over that line to cast you for Wolf Creek is when you were sitting in the chair. And in the audition, I won't actually say what the actual line in Wolf Creek was, because there are young ladies here. But it was, when I leant back to talk to these characters, I just did this. I just sort of went, hey mate, can I talk to you? And he goes, that little thing you did went, right, that's the character I want. Right?
Yeah,
now, but he never told me.
Nuance. It can be the littlest things like that. Tiniest. If you think you have to be solid like that, you're not going to be free enough to do those things. But
and it just happened, You just do it.
The hand thing is a nuance. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Through. We lived in the same apartment building. I coached Sydney. Sydney's huge now. Like, she's big time, right? So when she was, how old was she? 13 or something?
Same age as me.
Yeah. So we're doing this audition. She got her first film role with my friend who's a producer. We did this audition where she had to smoke, right? And not really smoke, but the cigarette was in the audition. I said, Sid, you've got to go home and watch people smoking. Just watch them smoking and get all these little nuances. And she did it, and when the audition came, she booked the role. Now, I'm not saying it was just because of the cigarette, but it was because they didn't think of her smoking the cigarette because it looked real, right? It's not like, oh, that looks real. They didn't take any notice because it looked real. You don't look at people smoking and go, gee, that looks like he's really smoking. No, it looked like she was really smoking. So it's little things that you do where they go, that person's really involved in the character. They're right in that moment.
Something dawned on me, like I'm thinking, okay, I get what you're saying, but then what's the next question? It is how, so then how do we be in the moment naturally? And then the next answer to that is, well, observe what happens in a moment. And then if you observe anything beyond that, it's silly, because all that's happening in the moment is reaction, thinking, and being in the moment.
And hearing something. No, I asked you, your ears heard it, it went into your brain, then your nervous system, so it happened in a, well, you can't even say it, it just, I went, and you went, what? See, that's what acting's about. Listening to what people are saying, listening to what they're saying, even though you've heard it 100 times, it's got to be like you've heard it the first time. And not thinking about anything else going on. It's right here, right now.
When you're in like a really heavy character moment, how do you get out of that?
Because he dealt with that when he was 10.
Yeah.
9
Pretty much everything that I did
He dealt with
was very dark. Like, it was all very dark, very heavy. I guess in some sense you have to be lucky enough with the cards that you're drawn with your psyche that you can digest that stuff and be able to let it go. But for me, mainly recalling from my innocence, dealing with heavy stuff, I would say that the thing that helped me the most was the work that I did before, and that's the thing that's going to help you with everything. It's that kind of pre-production work before you're on set. So I would have a couple months basically where all I would ever worry about is just reading. I'd honestly try and read it 50 times if I could. And honestly, very kind of raw, simple work. It would be
Romulus, my father, was the first one he did, which was fully traumatic.
Yeah.
Like, great movie, but fully...
True story
yeah,
as well.
True story, yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, I guess not to go into the process itself, but it was just all, mainly the reading and being prepared. And so once I have this kind of capsule, this suit, which is the character, which I can then jump in and out of, that's where that ability comes. If you're not
I think
prepared,
that's how we talked, right? I think the example I gave, which you changed, I just used that chalk line for dead bodies. I just said that's an actor's thing you're creating, you're putting the words in, you're bringing it to life. So then when it's alive, like they said, you can step in and out of it. You can step back and have a look at it and go, I wonder what I'll do then. You step back in. It doesn't mean you're not going to be affected, but you can't be affected to the point of bawling your eyes out till you're a mess on the ground, because the director goes, we've got another 15 takes to do. Like, can someone get him up?
The detachment also starts in the way that you lay the foundation down. Unfortunately, I would say, if this is their process, that's okay. I'm not really questioning it, but for my preference, I've seen actors of the same age when I was younger about to do a crying scene, and they go, okay, yeah, I'm ready for it. And I'm like, ready for what? The mum would come in with a dead picture of the dog, okay, and walk off.
Or grandpa.
Yeah, and cut, he's crying, cut. I hear about him going home and struggling at home because he's bringing this energy with him home. That's where I won't go. I am a very deep person, but I won't go too far into it. But you are dealing with the psyche, you're dealing with emotions, you're dealing with incarnating archetypes, which means characteristic, personified versions of our emotions. So you're building a house that you have to be able to go in safely and come out of.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be something that is coming from your own self.
That, when we did The Road, there was a lot of big write-ups in the paper about, getting in that character. There was a really heavy scene there. Well, the whole movie was heavy, but there was a heavy scene where Viggo Mortensen died, and they had a blanket over him, and Kodi's character was over the top crying for his dad, and back then he could cry pretty easy, and Viggo, seasoned actor, Lord of the Rings, everything, seasoned actor, like amazing. And when the scene finished, he got out the blanket, he goes, oh my God, he goes, I could feel his teardrops falling here, and I'm crying, and I'm supposed to be dead, and I've got my mouth open and go, and he's crying. So he was in the moment. because he could feel the tears coming, and he's dead. And
I remember clearly I was on my PlayStation PSP that I just bought. When they called cut, I was back in my chair and I was playing.
Yeah. And that's what the press rate said, oh, it's funny as Kodi to just be there and go, because that was his out. Like, he can leave that character there and say, okay, you ready? And you go back again, because you've read the script, you understand it, you built your character, right? You've got it all in you, so it's sitting there. It's just like a gas stove. When you've got it on, you know, low, you can just turn it up again.
Yes, it needs to, for me, it needs to be a suit that I can jump in and out of.
Yeah. Whatever works for you.
Yeah, that's the way I go home and I feel like, you know, I don't carry it with me. And I would recommend, you know, you can always do whatever you want. You can do a method, you can do this and that. But the harmless way and the way that is very beautiful is to be able to detach. Because when I finish a movie, I feel so clearly, like when I finished Power of the Dog, it was the first time I felt like emotional, because I felt, oh my God, I'm never going to be in that suit again. I don't have a reason to walk around the house and be Peter Gordon, but it was a beautiful suit to be in. It's like a piece now. You really let it go.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's really beautiful when you can do that. Our personality is made up of archetypes, which are personified basically emotions, or you can name them as spirit, or mythology is that as well. They all represent a different emotion within us. And that's what creates us as people. So characters are basically that, and little things you would do as characters are, it's a shared
Which
thing.
is what John concentrates on here, is making sure the directors and actors are getting the people working, and they can give that perspective. And John, when he does the emotions class, it's teaching you how to do it without digging into everything we said. Like, you can do whatever you want, but if you can do something safely so that you're on set, you know, theatre's different. If you're playing a role like that for 6 months or 12 months, you know, it's got to affect you somehow. Like that, I've heard theatre actors struggle sometimes, you know, to detune themselves, but it's part of your craft as well.
And the last film that I did, well, the second last film that I did with Alfonso Cuarón, I did a mini-series in London. I was there for 6 months, and I was playing a character who got into heroin at the end of the movie and things like that, and was dealing with some very dark things. And for me, like, when the script came through, I thought nothing of the material in that sense, because I've been doing dark stuff my whole life. I say I thought nothing of it in terms of being a challenge so much. As Alfonso being a director, I was like, I just need to be a part of this. I want to be a fly on the wall. I want to be a part of his process. And that's all I was thinking about. 6 months, whatever, just get me there. I got there, and the first few days playing this character, and of course the script is shot in different ways, so I wasn't playing the good stuff first. I was playing the dark stuff, and it was mixed up. And for the first time in my career, I was like, okay, I've done this my whole life, and it's definitely starting to take a toll on me, actually. And I remember it being a big subject that I had to talk about with my agent, and I spoke to you about it, and I spoke to my fiance, and I said, okay, I'm aware that I've actually done a lot of dark stuff, and it takes a toll on you. In what ways can I say? I don't know. It's just a bit of a heaviness. It can manifest as
because you've got all these characters inside you.
Whatever, yeah. It can manifest as anything. So you just have to be aware of yourself and your psyche when you're dealing with stuff, for sure.
And it's good to have that outlet. Like, I've always had other businesses outside, you know, whether it be when I first started lawn mowing, whatever. I always had something else. Business, scrap metal businesses, bouncing, pro wrestling. I always, even now, I do Uber driving, and I've had 5 jobs out of Uber. I've met the most incredible people around the planet, right? So I give myself something out where I'm not always thinking about it. And then when I'm in the moment with my script, I'm in the moment. I'm not thinking about anything else. But that was just me. If I was working full time all the time, then I would still have an out, like most actors do. They either compose, write, paint.
Which I have that. I had a big revelation on that, and I won't go into it too much because I don't know how much people know of this kind of occult stuff, but I feel like what we do is the closest thing to like witchcraft or magic that was in a time like the Renaissance or something like that. I know that sounds so outlandish and crazy, but we are literally dealing with spirits and archetypes and making things out of nothing and embodying them, and then you look at the whole process of what we do, and it's insane. It's not just under the label of entertainment. All humans sitting in a room experiencing emotions that they don't get to experience in their day, it's pretty much a walking dream. Dreams at night time are to extinguish and to exhaust the emotions that we're hiding within ourselves in walking life. So movies are a very similar thing. It's something very spiritual. I thought I was on some little nuanced thing just because I liked, you know, researching alchemy and spirituality and mythology. I thought I was just finding inspiration from that. Most of the A-list actors I worked with were already working with a dream analyst and doing all the things that I thought I was just doing by myself at home.
Well, Power of the Dog, I think.
Yeah.
Jane was into that, like they're doing this. Yeah, so yeah, it's that creative world you're building, because you can just learn lines, but if you really, you know, like you get involved in something, you're actually taking on that character. That's why you have to work out, how can I be in it, how can I be out of it.
Are you a David Lynch fan, Kodi?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I knew it. I could tell because the way you were talking, I was like, this sounds like something David Lynch would say.
He's the. I always say I know I'm punching above my weight when I say anything like this, but the person that I can relate to the most in terms of my approach is David Lynch. People always ask, like, what actor got you into acting, or what director, or what movie? It was none of that. It was everything that had to do with the unconscious, with the Renaissance, with mythology, with the psyche, with everything that is us.
Because you're building. Yeah, you're building a human being. Just play roles on Neighbours, Home and Away, and anything like that. You're building a character that's not real, and you've got to make him real. So everything that you're dealing with, why is that character not dealing with it? Everything you do every morning when you get out of bed, go to work, that character's got to have an essence of that. So when people are watching it, they can see that. They can see that this is a human being, right? I get Neighbours is chop, 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 it goes, but still, there's got to be some reality to it. You know, there has to be. And if you take your craft seriously, you will do that. But again, it has to be in that essence of safety. And a lot of actors write. They write because it's a good way to get journals.
There was an exercise we were doing on Power of the Dog that Kirsten was doing, and Benedict, and Jane got them to do this, where they would speak to a dream analyst, one of the best in Hollywood, and to receive things that were in their subconscious, their unconscious, that were unattainable to them in waking life. They would kind of do word work, like you're talking about now, and kind of meditate upon the character before they went to sleep and say, thank you for, you know, whatever I'm about to receive within the dream world about the character. And then, boom, they let themselves go, fly into the unconscious, and they would have these extremely vivid, almost lucid dreams of them being the character, and they would wake up with new material, new things that they didn't even know about the character themselves. Which you do know, it's somewhere there, but you got to go deep, just like, you know, Lynch would talk about.
Ben Mendelsohn, I don't know what his real process is, whether it's that, but Ben Mendelsohn again is a deep actor. Like, he digs deep into his characters, you know, like sat there and watched him around the table on another movie. So the point of this questionnaire is like, why would you come and train here? Because you get to be free here. Like John, all the other acting teachers, the directors, you get to discover you. Of course you're going to get skill work, but you get to discover you, because it's you who's standing there, it's you who's making these decisions, right? And it's you who's learning to block everything out while you're doing a little scene in class and being, like you just asked, being in that moment. Just being in the moment, not trying to get the lines right. Like there was a scene the other night, Rigby witnessed it. Two of the actors, everyone had to learn a 10-minute scene by the end of the 5-6 weeks, right? So they did 2 lots of 10-minute scenes and had a couple of days to learn. They brought their own props in. They actually transformed the whole room. The room did not look like this. When they brought their props in, I've never seen it happen before, but it actually, we were in the space of everybody's props, because they weren't, there was not one question, oh, can we do this? Just bring what you need. And they did, and it was personalised, right? And then one scene, the girl has never acted in her life, or the woman, and another actor, Ryan, they lost their way, quarter way in. And normally actors will go, oh, we forgot, can we start again? They just kept going. They kept going right to probably went 12 minutes. They finished the scene, and goes, that was amazing. And the first thing he goes, oh, I messed that up, I forgot everything. We all went, you forgot what? He goes,
Yeah,
we stopped.
it was lost in
It was
what was
lost.
amazing.
Yeah, and it was amazing. I
Also,
said,
the other woman, I forget her name, forgive me, but she spilled a whole hot tea on herself in the
Oh,
very
yeah.
beginning of the scene.
Raina.
And
Yeah.
I thought it was a part of the scene because of how she just kept going with it. Like,
Yeah, she did. She spilt it, knocked it accidentally, kept going. Usually actors will stop and go, oh, sorry.
that's another thing too, where in audition, if they see that, they already know that you're miles ahead of whatever person is going,
Mhm.
oh, let's just go back to the beginning, I'm so sorry. It's
Just
these
keep going.
little things. That
And that's
shows
part
them.
of training here. Just keep going. When you come to a class, if you forget your lines, if you've totally gone blank, just go, line please, and if the teacher wants you to do it or someone else, they'll do it. But just, if you know this, it's what you said before, if you know the story well enough and you're in the moment, then just keep going, make it up. And then get to it and say, oh look, I dropped all that, that's okay, you got it. We're not filming this, you're not going for a job, you're just proving to yourself that you knew the story. And if you know the story, you can keep going, but it's not a habit I'm saying get into. Don't just drop the line so you can run off on your own, because that's not how it works. You've got to train to do, keep it all going.
Well, you talk about going into like deep places with the characters. I suppose when you're doing take after take of something that requires you to show a lot of emotion, how do you find the energy to keep going?
Yeah, so it's a kind of twilight zone that you want to stay in, not when you're in the moment, you're fully in it, but in between action and cut. Oh, sorry, the other way around. When you have to go back to yourself, kind of, and the director comes over and gives you some notes. If you're dealing with a really heavy scene, you want to stay within a kind of twilight zone where you're in that suit. And for me, before I'm on set doing that scene, I just make sure to separate myself. I'll take my chair and take it somewhere secluded. I'll have my headphones in so people know that I want to be in that moment. And it doesn't mean I control people around me. Oh, can you be quiet, guys? I've seen some people do that. I just take that upon my own to do that for myself, kind of remove the ego from it. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's just a momentum thing. Then once you're in it, and yeah, the director will know too, like to kind of keep it quiet, and yeah, everyone will hopefully respect it for the most part.
You do have to distance yourself, like, if even if you're starting off being on short films, which I encourage actors to do all the time, like get on the networks where all the indie films made, short films, no pay. Everyone starts. I did heaps of stuff for no pay. That's how you get trained, because that's where you can go and go, oh, now I'm going to practice my craft, what I've learned at the school, And it may or may not work, but those guys are in the same boat as you. Like they're directing for the first time, or they just want to do it because it's school and they have to finish it and graduate. But then you also meet people there that will help you with your career later on in life,
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, to stay in the moment, as you were about to say, is to stay away from people that also kind of distract you. You got to take it upon your own responsibility to.
It's not being rude.
It's not, but some people might have a better ability to jump in and out than one does. So to respectfully remove yourself from that person is what you need to do to stay there.
And also too, just the side thing, when you're on set and you get there and you see someone doing that, don't go up and say, hey, how you doing, like the work you're doing. Just let them go, let them be there, because that's why they're there. But you can also train yourself, and it's like I say, you're not being arrogant, even in class, like when we were doing things in the 6-week course, I just say, okay, you guys go separate, you get that group there, and they did. They went in their own little groups and they just got everything done, because they they got rid of, whether this is going to work, whether it's not going to work, and that's pretty much all. I mean, you're in John's class at the moment, aren't you? The little series you're doing.
Yeah.
And John's very naturalistic, isn't he? He just wants to see the actors, bring yourself to those roles, and then you can tweak.
Yeah.
You can tweak. Once you're trying to be something you're not, sometimes it doesn't work. When you just bring yourself, if you're down here, the only place you can go is up. So if you come in and do it and they go, that was great, but can you add this? Yeah, okay, I can. Then you add that. Would you mind doing that? Yeah, I can, because I can do that. Then they've helped you create the character, like whether it be casting directors here or John or whatever class you're doing, right? So, but it's you, always you. It's never anybody else. And some actors they forget that. They're trying to do something that they're not. Like if you went for an audition and say you went for an audition and you went for an audition, all the same one, you're all going to do it differently, hopefully. But if you're just learning your lines by rote and come in and just saying, well, you're going to do it the same way. So you're all individuals, you're all brought up differently, you all have different experiences, so you bring them to that role of how you'd be in that position. What would I do? How would I feel? And then also, one important thing about scripts, you've got to understand the, what I call the small print, I don't know if that's correct, but it's the writing between the dialogue. They give you an instruction on actions and what you're doing and who comes in. You've got to read it all, because you've got to understand that when you're doing an audition, and that's what we're talking about now, is you're not going to play all that. You're not going to have a fight. You're not going to be drinking tea and making steak and eating it. You've got to come up with a way, right? It's just not a good idea to have props unless it really works. The cigarette works. It worked with Dylan Sprayberry. When I coached him for Young Superman, he played Clark Kent, right? Same thing again. He had a cigarette. We did it. And it worked, because they didn't start to, did they say anything? He goes, no, they just went, great audition, because we added that.
One of the most riskiest things that we did, which was actually what put us on the radar, is I had an audition for The Road, which was my first American audition, feature film audition.
Please don't do this at home.
Yeah.
Well, that's where we did it.
Yeah, it was a very heavy scene that most people wouldn't have had the privilege of being able to actually do it with their dad, which is why it hit home, I think, as well. But yeah.
Yeah, it spun him out. Like, it spun Vigo out, it spun John Hillcoat out. But that risky thing, he was going to shoot his son in the scene.
Well, he was teaching him how to
he's teaching him how to shoot himself. So we did it. I had a fake gun, it was blank, it was fake, and he just stuck it in his mouth. And I said, yeah, put it there. We just did it. So we actually didn't think of all that. We just, well, that's what they want. I've got a fake gun, you just do it, put it in your mouth. And they went, okay. And we didn't make it mean anything. We just did it. And then we went to LA, they flew, said, and then talking about the crying stuff, right? There's only two kids, it was Kodi and another young boy. The final audition, Vigo was in the room. The young kid went in first, and he...
You actually said, it's funny because we've spoken about it, you actually said he came out crying.
Oh no, he came out bawling. He didn't let go. He still came out the door crying, like crying. He was beside himself. And he walked off and the mother's okay, and I went, you come out like that? And you're grounded. And anyway, he went in and Vigo just said that it was just true. But they saw the video of the gun in the mouth, they said, we've never seen anything like that. That spun us out. In fact, Vigo goes, you nearly got my role, Andy. I went, yeah, right. but it affected them that much, right? They couldn't believe we did it, because it wasn't a real gun, but who tells a kid to stick a gun in their mouth? You know, but we didn't make anything of it. That's how we train. I don't make it mean anything. So let's just do that, mate. See if it works, and we'll do it. But that's your own thing. You know, you've got to do your own thing. And we just made sure that he wasn't affected by the roles. But as he said, as you get older and older, and you start doing them more, he's now an adult, and things start staying there, right? So that's when you have to have something in you. Like he's got his process, other actors have theirs where you can leave it and walk away from it. It will have a residual effect, of course, for a little while. Yeah, everything does when you finish a film. The film we did yesterday was a lot of gore and blood, and the guy, well, shot himself, put it in his mouth, and she did Maria did the thing at the back of the head, and the blood spell. It was all great. As soon as it was finished, we were talking like a bunch of yobbos in the pub. You know, because we took it seriously, but we also had that release and just having a laugh. But that's not all sets, I'm just giving examples. So when you come to a place where, like John runs the school with, he wants you to be natural, he wants you to be able to do something without maybe even bringing, you know, horror stories in to make you cry. So you can be an actor who's crying and no one knows that you're not really crying about something in the scene. Like, you've got to remember, it's acting. You're playing games like kids.
In some place, it's hard to explain, because in some place it's tethered. What you do as an actor in an emotional scene is somehow tethered all the way back to your experience if you have had something traumatic to that. But you put so many things between it that you no longer, they don't register as the same anymore. You know, you've created such a character so far away from yourself that that's the safe thing.
As you get old as adults, you have a breakup with a partner or a wife. If that's okay, you can use that, because that will make you cry. I've used it. I've used it plenty of times, and book roles, but it's safe for me because that's done, but it still makes you upset when you think about it. So I use that sometimes, you know, but I don't use anything that's dangerous or horrible.
I was on that point, and what I said before too about the walls. I had a break where I was given a father-son scene, and my father disowned me, and I actually broke down. I couldn't do the scene. I was choked up. But David Cameron, director, he teaches here from time to time as well. But yeah, he walked me through that, and he said where you can bring those true emotions out of what's really happened in your life, but understand that when you can bring them out, and when they're done, put them back in the box and know that they're there.
Definitely.
And then you go on your
put
way.
them back in the box. We say, and whatever works for you.
It can be a healing thing too. Sometimes when I've struggled to get to that place on a movie, it's because I'm suppressing that emotion in my real life.
Right.
So I know that I have to, once the movie's over, I've got a bit of therapy to do, and psychoanalysis to realize why am I not able to cry? What walls have I put up in myself? What thing do I have to deal with? And sometimes, as we said, this is why you have to be open to it, but you can break through and have that emotional release through a character. But as you said, when it calls cut, no one else is relating to the emotional experience you're having, so let it be.
Yeah.
But
and you will get it.
like
Once
that.
You understand the story and you let go of trying to make it right, we witnessed it in class with Jessica, right? Like, she hasn't done a lot of work, and, you know, she was quite nervous and all that, and then by the 6th week, she did this 10-minute scene, and it was to do with, like, this guy nearly hitting her at an intersection. She said, "You're going to kill me, my family." And then she started talking about the family, and then she lost it. Like, she just stood up and hit the table and went, "You're in it." And we're all like, wow. See, that was in the moment. Even after when I said that was great, she said, "I don't even remember doing it." Right? See, that's being in the moment of the scene. Because she trusted herself. Now she trusted herself. She didn't even think, "Oh, if I do this, they might think it's a bit..." No, you don't. That's not. You're right there now. But the skill of acting is, the skill of acting is you got to remember how to do that again, and again, and again, and again. Over the shoulder, over the front, side, wide shot. And wide shots, most actors or teachers will tell you that you don't put 100% into the wide shot. If it's yelling, screaming, you do it, but don't go 100% because they're only going to use that as an establishing shot. Like, do it properly, but don't go crazy because they're not close on your face. You can do it. Then when they come close on your face, that's when you're giving the stuff.
I was just wondering, you said everything about the darker side, you know, the lighter side, because you have lots of comedian actors, they're always typecast.
Yeah.
So they bring this fun, happy side, yeah? So how does that relate to similar to what you're saying? Because I think I don't think I could do the dark side too much.
No,
so,
that's right. And
how
you don't have
do you
to.
get into the happy place and you stay there and, you know?
So you've got to remember
advice,
that, and
yes.
Kodi will answer, but you've got to remember the dark side. It's only if scripts lead you that way. So you'll build a brick wall immediately reading the script and go, "Oh, I'm not doing that." So you're already going, put the wall up and go, "That's fine." You don't have to do anything. You have the power to go, "No, I don't want to touch that script. I don't want to go there." It's fine, and that's part of being a creative. Have the right to say no, you know. But if they say, "Oh, you're perfect, though, you're great," you go, "Well, okay, I'll have a talk to you about it." Like, you can talk to people about the producers or directors and say, "Look, I'm dealing with this and I don't know," and they might do what you said. The director might go, "Okay, let's try and work this out so it doesn't affect you." Some directors will do that.
Make a safe place for you.
Yeah, you know. But some might just go, "Well, no, we want someone who's willing to go the whole way."
For me, with the lighter stuff, I can't relate because I haven't done enough of it. I would like to, and I like to think, a funny person and a fun person outside of all of that. But
probably the funniest one you've done was
Dolomite.
With Eddie Murphy. That was great because he got to play just this funny character, crazy character. But
if Hollywood doesn't, or not even, that's just stupid. If casting directors don't see it, it's funny because they don't know it. So that's how typecast happens. You know, I think most of my characters have so much in common, but it's me pulling the strings behind to make sure that one's a futuristic Western, one's Romeo and Juliet, one's, you know, I try and make variety within that archetype. But
because it's easy, because you got to remember, casting only know you for what they look at your headshot and go, when you first and go, "Oh, they'd be perfect for that, you'd be perfect for that," and actors come in, oh, but I want to play that. I went, forget what you want to do. This is what they want to put you in, because your face looks like the character. The audience is going to, they don't go, oh, perfect. They relate. It's when you don't look like what you think they should, you go, he doesn't look like a cop, you know? Maybe you're not meant to look like a cop, that works. But if you're meant to look like a cop and they go, he doesn't, then they cast wrong. Doesn't mean you're a bad actor, but that generally doesn't happen. They cut, maybe B-grade films, it probably does. But generally they cast you because your face looks like the character they're thinking about, right? So I say to when you come, like they're shooting they're picking their showreel scenes next door now. John does that. So again, you get to have the variety. You get a lot of directors come in. Cast Thea McLeod from Neighbours is coming in 2 weeks, I think, and a couple of, is it 2 weeks? Yeah. Oh, this week. Oh, when I go, that's right, it's on the Saturday or Sunday. Yeah, so it's a great opportunity, you know, to come and be in front of a casting director and get the criticism. Like she'll say, look, that's great, but just, you know, maybe try this time, or you know, feel you're a bit nervous. That's okay, but you're getting, criticism is great. There was something said the other day, I was watching on Instagram, where I think it was this actor was saying, if you don't ever get criticised and you think you're the ant's pants, you'll never learn anything. And that's anywhere in life, that's everywhere. Acting, you know, health, sport, anything. If you think you've got it, you haven't got it. Because you can't get there until you've made mistakes, because mistakes is how you learn. Now, say, going back to your question, you said, if you're doing a class, you're not in the moment, so I don't think you're in the moment. That's not like you're a fool or you're an idiot. No, it's just, you just need a little tool to help you get in the moment. Now, if she didn't say anything, you'd think you're in the moment. And then you go further, and you do an audition, and you don't hear anything, right? You've got to hear what's not working. What's not working is not you're stupid or you don't get it. It's just not working. So every actor should be reading about philosophers, inventors, because they'll show you that how many thousands of times, 50 times he's written a 60-page script. That's because it's not bad, it's just not working. And now it's working because he sold it.
No, different project.
Oh, different project. But
it's still not working.
Yeah, well,
not working.
That's the thing.
Get home and what are you doing here?
But no, I just wanted to elaborate on that point, like add to it. The funny thing is I made an animated short film years ago. And I look back on it now and I cringe. Even though people like it, I think, oh man, I would have done this differently, I would have done that differently.
Oh God, we all do that.
And I had a friend have a conversation with me about that, and he said, well, that's a good thing, it means you're growing.
Definitely. Yeah, of course it is, mate. But if I look back at the stuff I did 36 years ago, let me tell you, we'd all be cringing. Because you think it's great, and then you look back and go, oh, yeah, I didn't. Voiceovers. I got voiceovers, but I can still remember early in the day, it was an ad or something like, oh, you know, buy John's shoes. He goes, you're going up on the M word. I went, I did? Oh, okay. Yeah, Peter and John, they wear these good shoes. He goes, you did it again. You went up there and I said, I can't hear it. Right, and then after a while, he says, all you got to do is just make your voice deep and go on there. Oh, I look like John's shoes. He went, oh, perfect. I went, I did? Oh, okay. But you just learn. And it never stopped me getting voiceovers. Now I'm doing dubbing stuff and animations because I love it now. Because now I'm free. I don't think about I've got to do this. It's just there. It's natural. That takes time. Everything takes time. You know.
For me, it's both. Like the process and the approach and all of that stuff becomes second nature. But somehow it simultaneously becomes harder the more that I grow as an identity, the more that I grow as a person, the more experiences I have in life, it becomes harder. Like when I think about the space I was in my innocence and how attainable some emotions were, they were right there. But now I have a self to get through to get to that.
Yeah. So. Oh yeah, no, as you get older, I find myself now really thinking about things and not doing the things I did earlier in my audition. So that's why you've got to be, you just got to be a little careful, like make sure you still got you know, what works for you, what you do. And as you grow and do classes should never be anything where you're trying to prove anything to anybody. It should be just exactly like the athlete on the track who's just starting out, he's got a coach, and he'll get you warming up, and then he'll get you running around. A month later, you'll be doing sprints. 6 years later, he'll be clocking you on the sprints, right? Here's your coach. The only way you train, I think they said you've got to do, whether it's true or not, it's just the saying out there, but If you did 18 minutes a day of the same thing, that's 100, I think it's 100 hours a year or something, you will get better. You'll be better than someone who doesn't, but people don't do it. They don't. They come to a class, then they go home and lives go back, and then they come back to the class. That's not what happened in 6 weeks. They were doing work every day.
Yeah, they say something like that with producing music as well. They say something crazy like you have to put in like 40,000 hours or something until you are then at the beginning of where a producer can be to sit in a room with an artist.
That's right. And if you guys, you know, like you decide to come to class here, treat class as it's learning, you're open, no one's better than you, you're not better than anyone else, you're all there. Someone might do a great scene, but that doesn't mean they're better than you, it's just a great scene, right? And then you learn, you do the work, and you keep continuing on at home, there's no way you can't get better, right? You're practicing your accents. American accents are a big thing that you need to have hold of. I know a lot of actors learn poems, they learn a stanza every day. It just keeps your mind fresh, reading scripts. If you put out there what you want, it will come to you. But if you just do it and then go home and forget it, well, it's a bit of a battle. You know, you've got to really take a bit of a sacrifice. You got a question? Everyone has a question. Anything about whatever.
Why are you here?
Why are you
here? What has intrigued you to be in the room
Yeah,
tonight?
because that was a question that brought you here.
Oh yeah, I've always been, oh sorry, I've always been like a creative person, like I was a dancer for 20 years and things like that, but acting's like the one thing that kind of really scares me. And it's something that I haven't really been able to fully devote myself.
Someone who didn't have a question, that was a bloody good one. Right, that's great.
Yeah, so
cool.
that's what brings me here.
Yeah, so you still dance?
Yeah, here and there. I
Okay,
do,
yeah. So yeah, that's a good question. Like, now I'm going to ask you a question. What's the fear? What is the fear that comes up for you about thinking, oh, I've got to go to I want to go to an acting class? Looking silly?
Yeah, I think like making,
For yourself?
Yeah.
Great, come to acting class because that's what you do. That's exactly what you do.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but the fear's not real. It's only here.
Yeah.
We all know that. We create our own fear. Fear's not even something you can point at. You can't even point it and you can't even describe it. Oh yeah, but I'm afraid. But what of? Well, coming to class, well, who's in there? Has someone got a gun or a knife? You go, no. Well, what are you afraid of? Oh, me being silly. But yeah, what's wrong with that? We'll laugh at you. But I don't want to be laughed at. No, let them laugh at you. That's the best way to let it all go. I've got nothing to lose here. Yeah. And you'll have so much fun when you're free to get up and go, I'm going to do the best I can, whatever. Anyone who makes fun of an actor seriously in a class shouldn't be in the class, because you're learning, and acting is stepping out, like stepping out to step into that zone of fear. Like I've got Joe, I said to him, you've got to find an improv class, right? And he's doing that because now he's getting to play a tree, and he goes, how ridiculous is that? You know, it's ridiculous. But the reason they do that is because it is ridiculous. Yeah. Like, you know, so don't let the fear stop you. And Rigby will say, how many girls in the class do we have that were so timid and so like, oh, but you couldn't stop them in the end. Because they do, there's nothing wrong, you know? And the shyest one was Megan.
Yeah.
Megan, now Megan's, she's stepping in and going to do a bit of a bit of a life coaching course, because I introduced her to someone, not to sell her the course, just to introduce her to someone, and she goes, oh, she's great, I want to do that. See, she discovered something out of the class what she can't deal with, and now she wants to deal with it, because she wants to be out there. And I get these messages from people going, oh, you're just so good, now I've got to see me, who I am, and I'm not afraid of me. And I went, oh, it's great, because you weren't afraid of you in the first place. You just made it up in your head. Right? So you being a dancer, that scares the shit out of me. Like someone, I've never danced with anyone in my life because I can't. Why can't I? Because I've never tried to. I know if I went and learned, I could dance. But dancing is, no, no. But see, you do something that a lot of people couldn't do. Yeah. So there's nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know why, it's like acting has always just scared me, and I've tried.
But it scares everyone.
Yeah.
Everybody who wants to start acting and come, there's a fear, because the fear is not acting, the fear is looking stupid in front of people. If you came into a room by yourself with an acting teacher, you wouldn't be too worried. Yeah. You know, if you said, oh, we're just going to run a couple of scenes, go, yeah, okay, we'll do this, you go, okay, a bit nervous, but if you suddenly put all these people looking at us like they're looking at us, come here, what's your name?
Karishma.
Karishma, come here for a minute.
Oh.
No, you probably don't. Okay, sit down here, sit there, and have a look at those faces looking at. That makes you a bit nervous, doesn't it?
Oh wow, yeah, it's
Yeah.
a lot.
Right? Because it's intense, because they're all in a funnel looking at you.
Yeah.
Right? Just quickly, just tell them a bit about your life story. You don't have to go anything personal. Just actors have to do this. Sometimes in auditions they give a 1-minute chat to camera, which is a little bit about you, what you love doing, hobbies, and all that.
Okay.
So stand up
Yes.
and introduce yourself, just who you are, and just be you.
Okay. Hi, my name is Karishma.
That was going to be an acting class.
I'm part of an international dance company for about 11 years. After that, I worked for the NDIS, and then I'm currently studying, and
Do you travel?
I've travelled a little bit.
Yeah.
When I was dancing, I travelled more.
Yeah.
I recently was in Jakarta on a public health study tour.
Oh, wow.
And
Pets, animals?
oh yeah, I've got a dog called Chewy, who I absolutely
Chewy.
love. Yeah, and he looks like Chewbacca as well. So
Ah.
that's the great thing about him.
See, there's no fear there, right?
Yeah.
Nothing at all. That's
Oh.
how, oi, oi.
I'm like, there is a lot of fear
Yeah,
there.
yeah, quick, yeah, but see, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
You can all be buzzing inside, but just get up and do it.
Yeah.
Because you just did something that you just went, well, that wasn't that hard, it was a little nervy,
Yeah.
but no one saw that, right?
No.
And who cares if they did?
And that's a beautiful thing
It's
too.
great,
is
great,
that
thanks.
No.
the continuity of being with the same people in a class, like that was something that was super nice for me to like just be a part of and observe in Dad's class. It's just how you become a family and like.
And that doesn't work with all classes. Like some classes.
Yeah, you were specifically highlighting that class, so I guess that's very,
Yeah,
that's kind of
because it
special.
was like, and some classes, there's some reason, I don't know, it's this, they just, I don't know, it's a hard thing to connect up with some people, but I try to do what I just did exactly to you, is let people go, okay, don't be, just come and do it. And the minute they see one person do it, and then someone else does it, they're all like, oh shit, we're all the same. Because everyone else is thinking what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Exactly the same, you know. Thanks for doing that.
Oh,
Great.
no, thanks.
What's your name?
Emily,
Emily, what is your question?
when do you think the best time is to like start attending casting director workshops? Like, do you think you should have training behind you, or?
Oh, for casting director workshops? Look, you could come in raw and do a casting director workshop, learn your lines, come in and do it. And you know what? You could just be natural and they go, well, that's great. It's happened. I'm not saying it's never going to happen. But I would probably do the courses first so you get an idea of what to expect so that you don't murder yourself either. Because it might work and it might not, and that doesn't mean the casting director's never going to want to see you again, but it'd be like they can pick whether you've done some training or not, you know. But again, I'm not saying it doesn't work, but you're much better off doing the courses first. Any other questions about acting and
No, that's pretty much it.
any fear?
A little bit, yeah.
And what's your fear? What would it be about in acting?
Just, yeah, about like feeling silly and
Yeah.
stuff. But more it's like about forgetting lines as well.
See, that is the biggest thing. Actors go, you know what? I go, just forget them then. Who cares? Forget them. Because see, if you put a thing on yourself, go, oh, what if I just go, I don't care. If I forget them, I forget them. I'm just going to stop and go, I just forgot my lines. And every actor's go, oh my God, you can't do that. No one's ever forgotten their lines. No, when you take that away and just go, I don't care if I do, but I'm going to do my homework, what Kodi said before, do the work at home, work on the script, and then when you come in, I've done it. I've done it on set where I've just gone, gone. That's why I don't do theatre. Oh, you want my fear? Theatre.
Same.
Theatre. Because you've got to be there the whole time, and I've done it, and let me tell you, that's my fear, but I want to do theatre eventually in a few more years, but that's a place where...
That's a good thing to, like, again, going deeper, just using it as an analogy. In religion, people use the fear of God to ultimately repent and become a better person. So I use the fear of something like that, your kind of nightmare, as being like, oh fuck, if nothing else can get me off the couch, if nothing else can get me off of the game and stop being distracted when I'm reading a script and I know I have 2 weeks before I leave and I'm about to be there, director saying action, 1 million people watching in the moment, that thought will get me off, and I will spend 3 hours on my script. You know,
Yeah.
you utilize those things.
Don't be afraid of them.
That's
Use them.
ultimately what fear is. Fear is just like a warning light. It's just a check engine light. It's like, you know, in primitive terms, it's, oh my God, there could be a lion around here. What did I just hear? It could be a threat. So do something smart about that. So let's utilize fear as a tool for stepping up on
Which
the
you
emotional
just did.
scale.
You just did it.
If you don't utilize fear, then that's
You'll
when you
just
deal with
keep living in it,
consequences
because it'll
and you
get
just-
bigger
yeah.
and bigger, and then you'll never get off.
Yeah.
You'll never get off the seat to stand up and do something.
Yeah.
The thing is, you don't even say it out loud. You just get up. If you say you join, do a class, you've got scenes to do, you go, okay, it's my turn. Of course you get it. If you're not nervous, there's something wrong. You get up and you've got your scene there, and you do it, and all of a sudden you go, oh, I've just dropped my line. You don't make big excuses. Just go, I've dropped my line. Is someone reading? And they pick it. Oh, yeah, okay, go. Who cares? That's why they make erasers on pencils, because people make mistakes. That's why they have the delete button. Like, people think in acting you've got to be perfect. You can't. If you try to be perfect, it won't work. So Maria, when you started doing makeup, you were talking about this on set the other day. How long did it take you to get to the point where someone can trust you to pull a bullet wound in the back of someone's head and do all this, make it look great? I mean, you didn't just do it on the first day.
No,
And how many mistakes did you make?
plenty
Yeah.
on the way.
Yeah, and that's how you learn. Because you go, I'll never do that again.
Exactly.
Whether it's driving a car, whether it's like, oh, I'm going to eat prawns and fish and raw tuna before I fly to America, and then you're sick the whole way. You will never do that again. You will learn from your mistakes. So I don't eat oysters. I don't, because I broke my rule once on a set.
Wait, I thought that was a fake analogy.
No, it's a real one. I went to Sydney to shoot this film for 2 days, and I never eat pork or anything before a shoot. And this guy goes, I'm having pork. I go, oh, no, I don't do that. He goes, no, but they look good. This pork sausage. I went, oh, okay, salmonella. I got it. That night, next morning, 14 hours on set, throwing up, doing all different areas in the toilet. And when we shot the scene, perfect, no one would know. As soon as finished, I'm on the couch with the temperature, sweating, they've got ice packs on me. That was the worst day of my life. And it lasted for 3 months. I broke my rule. I broke it. So if you've got things you set up, don't break them. Stick to what you say. And see, I don't have a fear of it anymore, because I just don't do it. What if I do? I knew, but I still did it and I got sick, so I learned from it. Right? So if you fear of dropping lines, well, you drop them, who cares? You just got to get back, and you'll keep dropping them. There's no actor I don't know that doesn't drop lines. Like, how many times you see bloopers on set? How many
Oh my
sets you've
God,
been on? When people just, they go,
Harvey Keitel, one